WCTV begins. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words, but what is a picture with no words worth? Apparently quite a bit to those in the North Florida area who had never experienced television before. In fact, in the first 6 months before WCTV went on the air, people all over North Florida and southern Georgia were watching the test pattern that the station intermittently transmitted. Sending this pattern over the airways provided a ready means to do adjustments, and maybe even to check component reliability. Yet I doubt that anyone at the fledgling TV station ever suspected that people would actually watch such a transmission. However, watch they did, and they sent in letters to say so. Bill Ragsdale became involved in the television station due to his contacts at DdToWl, Mr. Phipps and Bill Snowden especially. Of course, Mr. Phipps was the one in charge, and he ultimately approved and picked the personnel for the new TV endeavor. I'm not quite sure how many engineers actually built the TV station, but I know that my dad was one of them. Yet it first appeared that the station was never going to happen. This was because of a concept called clear channel transmissions, which meant that the Federal Communications Commission, FCC, allocated channels based on limiting the possibility of interference between adjacent stations. In addition, there was only one VHF channel, channel 11, allocated to Tallahassee, and this one had already been tied up by FSU for their future educational TV station. Hence, there was really no practical channel for a commercial television station in Florida's capital city. It was an amazing ordering of events. Another point is the fact that UHF transmissions were not mainstream at the time. UHF was not even included on standard television sets and required a converter box if UHF were to be received. Also, the quality was mostly poor at best, and you needed VHF, channels 2 through 13, if you wanted your TV program anywhere close to network standards. This was when a man in Georgia by the name of Hoyt Wimpy, a local radio station owner, came to the rescue. Wimpy had relocated to Thomasville, Georgia, where he owned and operated WPAX into the 1960s. Wimpy convinced the FCC to let Channel 6, allocated for Thomasville, be used by both Thomasville and Tallahassee. He also convinced the feds that John H. Phipps Broadcasting should get the license. This arrangement would give Thomasville a TV studio they really couldn't have likely afforded or procured in any other way, and would provide Tallahassee with its yearned-for station. The two cities were about 35 miles apart, and the transmitter was to be built 17 miles from Tallahassee at Lake Ammonia, an apt name for that truly poisonous-looking lake if I ever heard one. It was indeed pronounced ammonia, but we sometimes said pneumonia. However, as Dad told us all, the station really planned to make Tallahassee the base of operations, originating only a few programs from Georgia. The people in that state were seen by some as interested only in farm and other rural programming. Tallahassee was supposedly the more sophisticated location and really should have got the station anyway. I can tell you that one should never underestimate the craftiness and intelligence of someone from the South. They will indeed surprise you, and an attempt to push Thomasville mostly out of the picture ultimately failed. Nevertheless, it is my understanding that the station in those early days had some individuals who were not all that experienced in operating or constructing television stations. In addition, there was apparently a strong desire coming from somewhere to run the whole thing on a shoestring. After all, why spend more than was necessary and be like all those big city stations with their fancy camera dollies, plush studios, and multiple cameras? Hence, the studio in Tallahassee was actually nothing more than a barn. At least that is how it looked, and I saw it many times, was also inside on several other occasions. We did, after all, live only about one city block away. However, we were located inside the city, and the studio was just outside. This initially caused problems regarding such niceties as the sewer. Since the station was outside Tallahassee, they were not allowed a sewer hookup. There was apparently not even enough space on the property for a proper septic tank. Therefore, it was built under the building. This meant breaking through concrete for repairs. Eventually, the city, probably seeing tax dollars going down the drain, extended the city limits. This meant that the station finally had a sewer connection, following months of sewage spills before installing a proper pump. My dad once told the details of this whole matter in a very graphic way. Let me just say that according to what my dad said, the whole situation really stunk. Yet the problems with the sewer were eventually solved, and my dad summed it up as follows. Channel blank was at peace, although some of the older employees will tell you that on dark and dismal nights, after the last desiccated cowboy movie had ground to a halt, one could distinctly detect the faint aroma of sewage in the hall. End of Ragsdale's remarks.